Good evening, everybody, and welcome to yet another. It's just getting a little bit odd for me to keep saying. Yet another victory podcast, not Victory Monday. We were hoping to be joined this evening by our good friend Damsky, who is going to hop on from over the other side of the pond and talk some ball. Unfortunately, again, through circumstances
no fault of his own.
Everyone's control. He hasn't been able to make it, so it's just going to be me and Danny tonight. Cal's on nights, and Liam's currently involved with the
Krakow, I think,
involved with the Russian mafia, I believe. So, but we're gonna crack on. We didn't want to miss the chance to have a show, and we feel like there's kind of enough to talk about off what was a pretty ugly game against the New York Jets at MetLife Stadium. So I guess if we can hop right into it, we'll start the show a little bit differently than talking about the QB first. So we'll go straight into defense and what a defensive performance it was. Danny, what's your
absolutely,
take on the D?
That's 2 games running, are we talking now? And then the final quarter of the game before that as well. I think we're the only team, the longest run in the NFL at the moment in time, aren't we?
9 quarters. 9 quarters without allowing a touchdown.
Yeah, quality. It's good as well because literally only 3 weeks ago, we were criticising the D, saying they were starting to look a bit worn, a little bit drained, a little bit tired, and then all of a sudden, picked out of the blue. And I think you have to credit him even more so because Grady's not about, and he's been our main man and our staple for so long that everybody else has probably stepped up. I know he's not, it's a hard one with Grady because he's not high, his sack numbers and stuff aren't great, but he's just that stability that you always have. He's like, the blocks that he makes and stuff are incomparable for us.
Well, certainly defensive linemen who tend to play sort of like the nose tackle or the sort of rhino tackle if you're playing a 4-front defense.
Mm-hmm.
We kind of wouldn't expect them to be your biggest sort of your biggest sort of sack getters, I guess, is probably the only point for that. One thing he has been is he's been the lifeblood of this defense for so long, and we've been screaming for so long. You know, he just needs some help. And I think it's fair to say that, not that we don't need him, but where the defense looks like the defense looks like it is functioning to a high level without him.
Agreed. Yeah.
And from what I've heard in the media, Brady's still around. He's still in the locker room. He's still on the sidelines. Yeah. I mean, it shows you kind of what almost the caliber of the man, I guess. But at the same time, there's still against the Jets, who I think it's fair to say we would really hope that the defense would play lights out against the Jets' 3rd and 4th string quarterback. They have got offensive weapons. I think we limited Breece Hall to, I think it was like 1.7 yards per carry, which is crazy. Although Breece Hall hasn't had anywhere near the kind of breakout season he had last year. Again, I think AJ and Jeff kept Garrett Wilson quiet, which was really, again, I think even Jets fans would probably agree he's their only real wide-out sort of big threat. So and of course we can't talk about the defense without talking about Jesse B, who once again lights out football and
revolutionary to us. Literally revolutionary to us.
If we just keep giggling at these silly comments that are coming in, whoever Bruce Wayne and Lex Luthor and whoever keeps coming in every week. Sure. Okay. Let's get to that.
See how that goes.
Let's get to that later. We're talking about the defense right now. But I think the only thing that really kind of overshadowed it for me was the injuries. hopefully none of them seem to be serious. Apparently,
I've not seen anything saying so far.
Landman was, although he got kind of helped off with what looked like a knee injury, and one thing I was worried about was that turf at MetLife Stadium.
You said it beforehand.
Seems to be like Landman had his helmet on, so he looked like he was kind of ready to jump back in. So it was probably just more precaution than anything else. But obviously, with losing Troy for the season, I think losing Landman would be a big loss. Because linebacker is not really a position of depth for us. And AJ obviously enters concussion protocol, so we've just got to kind of hope that we've got him back for the Bucs game. Although, not that I'm saying I want him to be out because I don't, but poor AJ's never really fared too well against Mike Evans. But then again, not many corners do.
No, not many do, and that was evidence this weekend. We'll move on to the Bucs later on, but he was the only player on the team that had any form of yardage over the weekend. So same as always.
Yeah, and I think as far as I'm concerned, we've seen some stat numbers that we don't usually see. Forced fumbles.
Yeah.
We seen some sacks. It was kind of the ideal defensive performance. Again, I don't want to. I don't want to really introduce fanfare too much because again, this is not a good Jets offensive unit.
No, it's not.
And again, we were playing third and fourth string quarterbacks. Not that I imagine the second string would have done much either.
No,
Zach Wilson is another story.
Exactly, but we can only beat what's in front of us. It's another dub on the board.
True.
9 quarters. It doesn't matter who you're facing. 9 quarters without a touchdown is a top level performance, regardless. So I don't think we can be too disheartened. Against a better team, would we concede some touchdowns? Absolutely. Like you can see that we're not seamless yet, but we're back where we should have been for those 2 or 3 weeks where we looked a little bit shaky and a little bit patchy. So
I think that's totally fair. We went into that bye week after that horrific Cardinals game, thinking, here we go. Let's start looking at who we're going to pick in the top 10. And actually, I think if we're being honest with ourselves, without Jesse Bates, we're probably
not far off.
We're lucky if we're on 4 wins this season. You know what I mean?
I agree.
Easily.
It's like 5 interceptions now, isn't it? So that's a career high again, and it was a career high last week as well. So he's just going to keep.
And we've still got 6 games to go.
Lovely stuff. Still 6 games. Just whilst we highlighted on him, then our co-host appears to be watching us tonight instead of sitting on the show. So clearly very busy at work on his.
Man can do it all. Yeah, I mean, listen, I think this kind of brings us swiftly onto the offense. I think one positive, which is, there for everybody to see. I don't think anybody can deny this. Is that Dez made better decisions this week. He protected the ball. That Jets defense, although maybe not completely in sync with each other, it can't be looked over. That defense has some unbelievable individual talents on it. That D-line is nasty. That linebacker core that played us were really, really kind of giving the slot receivers some hard tasks. And of course, you're looking at an extremely talented secondary, which kind of surprised me even more that we wanted to throw the ball as much as we did.
Well, this is something we discussed the week previous, isn't it? That statistically, that was the strongest asset towards the defense this season. Yeah. For some reason, we still took a few more gambles than you would have expected us to, probably.
So from what I've seen, I think it's certainly worth pointing out that, and this will be of no surprise to anybody, that offensive scheme let us down again. And I'm not just talking about the passing game. I'm talking about the the outside zone runs that, sure,
Yeah,
I'm not saying they don't work against some opposition, but by the time even Bijan was getting to that edge to kind of get round the offensive line, which worked really, really well against Saints, you can't do that against the Jets because the Jets just have better defensive pieces, right? So that really frustrated me, and I think that the O-line was still doing enough to open up gaps to just run that ball up the middle, and the few times that we did it, it worked. So again, really kind of a little bit perplexed by the game plan.
Again, a few specific plays, 3rd and 2, and no Tyler on the field.
Bijan had 18 carries. I just Again, I'm a little bit perplexed with these decision makings in terms of game plan.
Yeah, I agree, because against a better team, we've evidenced this season against better teams it doesn't work. Yet we continue to do so. We get away with it the odd week here and there, but it isn't sustainable. I don't think it's not. We've not showed any drastic signs of improvement over the last few games that we've won. We've just happened to win. I don't want to be too negative. Win's a win. That's all that actually matters. But we've not actually showed that much more promise than the weeks we've been criticising the team.
Yeah, I guess all of those weeks where we've criticised the team, though, again, we've made stupid mistakes, and I don't think I think that's what compounds this week for me, is that we did make stupid mistakes, but it was the game plan that was wrong. So like, I can't, we seen Pitts, who was kind of like the top target. I'm still hearing stuff, and listen, I'm sure Damsky would have liked to have debated this with me. I think some of the view around the fans is that he's still carrying an injury. That's why he didn't jump for that pick that obviously got blown for a penalty. But at the same time, again, I'm just.
I'm not sold on the concept.
Last week I was in the camp of, are we potentially just looking at a bust, or are we looking at just somebody who hasn't acclimatized that well? But then I was reminded that actually in his first season, with Matt Ryan, that actually he balled out. So I'm kind of back in this sort of middle of the road of I just don't understand it, and I think I'm probably leaning more this week, knowing how bad of a game plan we set out to have. That maybe it is the scheme. I'm just still not convinced. I mean, Pitt's got called for a holding penalty. Like, guys, why are we using this dude to block? We've got Parker Hesse back next week. So my feeling on it is, especially if we're going to try and do something to get that Tampa Bay defense, which actually we did pretty well last time out, that just put Kyle in the slot. You don't line him up on the outside, where if he is carrying an injury and you put him on the outside, it's either going to aggravate the injury, or he's just not going to be able to do it as quick. Put him in the slot, put him in those sort of short yardage positions. I'm just gonna pass this comment up, Matt. I'm not saying he is, but
also not saying he isn't.
I'm not convinced about something, and I don't know whether that could quite easily just be this weird, nonsensical, perplexing scheme that he seems to be playing in. But I'm if there isn't an injury, then there are so many times where this dude just doesn't look like he's look like his head's screwed on. He doesn't look like he's bothered, and that worries me. It worries me that we spent so much on him, and he doesn't care.
Well, that's a bit of a counterpoint as well, though, in terms of the coaching, that you've got an asset as valuable as Pitts was, maybe isn't quite as much now. If he's carrying still, just leave him. Just let him recover, because he's not contributing to our game plan enough for leaving him out to matter. Like, if he wasn't there, it wouldn't be detrimental to how we're playing at the moment in time. He's not balling out. I know he adds a different dimension to our play in terms of we don't have a comparable player to him, which is absolutely fair enough. But he's not 8 targets and 4 receptions, and that's classed as a busy game for him.
Well, busy for him, yeah.
And that's again, what I mean. It's
he was the top targeted, but we agreed last week that we didn't. We threw it more than we expected, but we still didn't throw it.
No, yardage wise, we barely picked 121 yards. So we threw it more, but we still didn't get much out of it anyway.
No, and I think Pitt's those 4 receptions ended up with about 50 odd yards. And listen, again, I'm not wishing this guy's a bust. I want him to be, I want him to be the unicorn that we expected him to be. But when the guy's like slowing down and not even finishing the route because he's just been, he's just a decoy or whatever, it just kind of very scarily signals to me that he's not giving 100%. And even if you're not the read to be targeted, you still got to, and if you are a decoy, you got to act like one. You can't do the first 5-10 yards and then just call it quits because the ball's already moved. So also, I think there's still some worry there for me.
I agree. Like I said, don't want him to be a bust. Don't think he is. Can't categorically say that he is, but I am a little bit concerned now because we're deep into the season. Like, you either need to let him find his fitness externally or start showing why you're actually in the roster still constantly and not in the injury reserves.
Yeah, and I think it's worth pointing out in this game as well that it was possibly. Don't get me wrong. I'm kind of. We had Aaron Freeman on the pod early on in the season, and I'm kind of very much in the same boat as him. Of the officiating in the NFL is so horrific, and this game truly showed how horrific it was. Like, and the worst thing about it was, that the defense who we've already kind of, we've already gone through and we've already praised, Richie Grant with that forced fumble, he could have taken that to the house. There was absolutely no reason whatsoever for that play to be blown dead. And it's just the inconsistency of the officiating, because actually, the offense was still ugly, but if that had gone to the house, which it should have done, because Richie Grant was, listen, we've criticized Richie Grant on this pod a lot, right? But he did very well this week.
He did look bad.
Like we're not talking about an ugly scoreline. We're just talking about like an ugly sort of offensive display. So I think there was so many factors in this game. Playing in New York, playing in the rain, playing on that horrific turf. Like there was so many things where I just go, if there's anywhere to win ugly, it's probably that one. So I'm not getting too caught up with the ugliness, I don't think. And like I say, again, it was good to see Des not kind of do his usual kamikaze effort. It was a nice change, wasn't it? Still statistically not great, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Well, do you know what? I won't even defame him like that, because we won the game at the end of the day, and no interceptions. So he did his job. It doesn't matter if you throw percentages and bang on, happens, whatever. So Just another thing worth noting, as we were talking about injuries before. Looks like Caleb McGarry's hurt his knee. From what I caught earlier on, they don't think it's too serious, but I think he is probably likely to miss a couple of games. So The return of Storm Norton, it looks like to be on back at the Bens next week.
I mean, we saw him for that one quarter a while back, and we were all Team Storm during the following show. So I've got no problem with that.
Yeah. Although
he's not a flash in the pan, but
for the aspect of fairness, though, since I would say probably about game 4 or 5, McGarry has seemed to have pulled the socks up a little bit. So I think it's, but again, for the aspect of fairness,
absolutely. We've not picked him out. Figure. Yeah. We went from picking him out week after week for a 3 or 4, and then we've just left him to it. No necessarily outstanding performances, but they're usually the best ones for your offensive lineman. If you're not noticed, you're probably doing something right. So,
and I think what you tend to find out is on those kind of outside zone runs that Bijan utilizes so well. 9 times out of 10, it's always McGarry's side. So you have absolutely. You have to give credit where it's due. It is going to be a loss, and hopefully, man like Storm can come in and do a job. But I do think that is that is far from ideal going into a really, really important divisional game against the Bucs.
Yeah, absolutely. On that segue, should we head over to the Bucs game?
Is there anything else I want to mention about the Jets game, apart from how awful it was?
Apart from
just one thing to touch on, for me is still no touchdowns scored against the Falcons by a running back this season,
which is some statistic.
That is,
I don't have any comparative data for that one, but I can't imagine it. There's many teams that have been able to do that historically. Surely.
That is the joy with American football, is they can't just pull these weird and wonderful stats out. But that's it's a significant one, right?
It definitely is.
And we've seen it, I think it was compounded for me in the game against the Saints last week. Like the Saints kept getting close, and then they do themselves over, like they false start or something, and then get pushed back and back, and all of a sudden, they can't just punch the ball in. So, fair play to Coach Nielsen's game plan, because at least one side of the ball seems to have one. And I think it's just something worthy of note.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Moving on to our divisional matchup then. 2 on the bounce we have. Of course, the Bucs had theirs against the Panthers at weekend, didn't they, as well?
Yeah.
They're sitting at 5-7. We're at 6-6, and the Saints are 5-7 as well, aren't they? And they play the Panthers this weekend as well. So in theory, touch wood, that's not the case, but in theory, there could be 3 teams tied at the top of the NFC South come the end of the weekend.
Well,
we have the divisional advantage, but
we do, and I think the main advantage I think that we've got going for us is it's back at the Bens. So I feel a little bit more comfortable with that, because I think we'll be able to create an atmosphere. The Bucs have looked, really disjointed. I'm not saying that because I hate them. I'm saying that from a pure footballing point of view.
No.
Mike Evans is all they've really got. Godwin, for my money, has just kind of fallen off a cliff. Their running back is Rashad White, who, if you don't know who he is, I wouldn't blame you, because he's,
uncommentable,
bang average at best. So I would hope that we're going to see yet another X on the streak of no touchdowns by running backs. I say that well again, touch wood. So I think it's a real opportunity. I think it's how we execute, and we need to put that ugly offensive display behind us. We need to get back to the film on the first game that we had with them, where we were almost desperate to lose it. Because that was the game where Des got the ball punched out whilst he was running for a touchdown. Not that we want to go back and relive that, but it could be a banana skin. There's no doubt about it. But if we win this week, then I think just purely from a divisional record, I think we're in a good spot to book our place in the playoffs. But we could. There's always a.
We know how to Falcon.
Always say that with a little asterisk next to it.
Yeah,
because,
just in case.
We do have a tendency to shoot ourselves in the foot.
Absolutely. Yeah, it does give us that little safety cushion, doesn't it? Will it be our third or fourth divisional? Are we 2-0 or 3-0?
We've beat all three, so this will be
all three so far, haven't we? Yeah. It's not a bad safety net, is it? Because obviously it'd be 2 games on the Bucs as well, 1/2 games on the Saints, depending on.
Well, I mean, I think ultimately the way that it'll look if we go 4-0 in the division, potentially again, I say this with an asterisk at the end, and then 5-0 in the division against the Panthers, and then realistically at that point, we'd have to lose out. Saints would have to win out. And I mean, again, for the last time,
anything can happen, but in a
you'd like to think that we've got world. You'd like to think that we've got enough about us, and enough about this team to have it in a tank to get to that point where the divisional games will see us through.
Yeah, you'd hope so. Like you said, I'm just looking at this, pulling up the stats then. Mike Evans got 12 targets, 7 receptions, 162 yards. Quality, standard Mike Evans. After that, this is receiving as well. You're looking at Rashad White, 22 yards, Palmer, 12 yards. So literally they only threw it to Evans.
Guys had I think it's something like 10 consecutive 1,000-yard seasons.
Yeah.
Only the only other guy do it's Jerry Rice.
Bonkers.
And I hate to say it because again he's a divisional rival and he always has been. Is
sometimes you've just got to. There's nothing wrong with
the guy's an unbelievable player, and always seems to have a day against us. Like I say, he repeatedly cooked AJ in the last game. So, not that I'm hugely excited about the fact that Trey Flowers coming into the lineup if AJ doesn't clear concussion protocol, but Clark Phillips this week came in, did a job in space of AJ. So I think that there's potential if Clark is playing and AJ doesn't, that we've got I would say a bit of a size mismatch between Evans and Clark. Clark, he's
it's a little bit, isn't it? It's looking like a bit of a double team issue that you might have to consider, but I don't know.
If he's going to play that far out wide, the best thing you can kind of hope for is that we kind of go cover 2 and you've got that kind of safety back who's willing to kind of edge to one side or the other, depending on where he is. I mean, that would kind of make more sense to me, but listen, I'm just surmising there's always a way to stop it. It's just whether we can stop it or not.
Absolutely. And then just as for the running game that you've already mentioned as well, Rashad White got 84 yards for 1 touchdown, an average 4.2, which is actually not too shabby, but consider that is against the Panthers, who are one of the worst teams I've seen since I've been watching.
And without the first round draft pick, which is hilarious. So,
Yeah, absolutely. And then after that, they didn't really have much of a running game either. Chris Godwin got a touchdown from rushing, and Trey Palmer got a couple of yards in there. So that was literally it as well. So they're pretty limited on both sides. They've got one person to receive and one person to rush, which indefinitely means that they will probably both score touchdowns against us if we do a Falcon, but we'll see.
I'm sure we won't. Well, one thing I just flicked to mind there.
Yeah.
Especially should asterisk.
Sure.
We make the playoffs and we end up with a really, really sort of high first round pick, which is probably going to be neither use nor ornament. Go down the road to Carolina and say you can have the 20th pick in the first round for Brian Burns.
Not a horrendous shout.
Because you'd rather have a guy who's been in the league for a few years and is an absolute sack monster, who's proven, than take a punt on,
especially someone that low down that's
that kind of like 20
can't guarantee
20 to 20 to 25 draft pick that you're going to end up with. So
I suppose a move like that's very reliant on what we end up doing with our quarterback situation as well, because obviously that.
But that's my point, right? So if you look at the quarterback situation in this draft coming up, I would say probably 5 of them are going to go in the first round. 3 of those 5 I probably agree with are first round talent. I reckon there's probably a couple of QB needy teams that'll probably take a risk on the likes of Bo Nix and the like. But the 3 like May, the guy from USA whose name escapes me at the minute, but he's the Caleb Williams, and Daniels from LSU. If I was to tell you which player I'm in love with in this draft, which I do every year, and then I get really excited. And it was only this year I was right for the first time. But if our draft pick wouldn't be enough to cover it, but that the Daniels from LSU would be he just suits our scheme. The scheme that I compliment so much. He suits the way that we play so well. So he's my love of this draft. But again, I don't see us with that pick if we do make the playoffs. I don't see it. I think it's more likely that potentially if we get a second for Reid, that we go to the Bears and say, look, you've got Carolina's first round pick anyway, which is probably going to be the number 1 at this rate. You go get your quarterback, and we'll take Justin Fields, who again I'd like to see. I think would fit really, really well in the system.
Just because of the picks that we're likely to have, I'd be more than happy gambling. It's less of a gamble. I'd take that gamble over trading everything we have for a high quarterback pick, because realistically, we're not going to get, like you said, unless there's some absolute bonkers jiggery pokery, we're not going to end up with a ridiculously high draft pick.
Yeah, that's going to be my gamble for the Falcons. Send your first round to Carolina for Brian Burns, and then send the complimentary second round that we get from Ridley to Chicago. And we've got an NFL QB who can do it, who's shown he can do it in an awful team. So what could he do behind a good O-line? And we've got a pass rusher who's an absolute stonewall animal.
Monster. I'm going to clip that because...
Terry, call me. I've got plans. I've got plans, bro.
We'll get in touch with the boys after this one. No, that seems more than reasonable. And as it stands, who do we play in the playoffs? Should we get there? It's looking like the Cowboys. I don't want to preempt anything too much.
Listen,
but
Cowboys got the Eagles this coming week. Eagles have been less than impressive. They got absolutely ruined. I was going to use a naughty word there, but Carl's not on, and I'm not going to make this an explicit show. So, nice. They got ruined by the 49ers, who, by the way, I did peg to win the NFC last week when we had this discussion.
You
did. I think, could be the Eagles. And quite frankly, with the way that we play, genuinely, with the way that we play, I would rather play Philly than play Dallas.
I understand the logic, but it's also very bold because I know Philly have looked a little bit flat recently, but they're still a 10-2 team. Like, they're still grinding out wins, even when they've not been great. But you still fancy that over. I don't even know what the Cowboys are at.
Just remember, one of those two.
Yeah.
Can you give me either of them?
9-3. No. Exactly.
One of them was the New York Jets.
Yeah, very true. Very true.
So listen, and I think most realistic Eagles fans will tell you that they're kind of not the same team that they were last season, and they've found ways to win. And I'm not by any stretch sticking on the Eagles. I think they're a good team. I think they've got some brilliant players. I'm a massive fan of Jalen Hurts. But they don't seem to have that chemistry. That defense, although their defensive line is full of Georgia Bulldogs, and everyone will tell me that
that's the goal.
Yeah, D line's nasty, but it's not going to. But a D line alone is not going to win you games. And like I say, San Francisco really, really done a number on them this week. And like I say, I think you've got like I say, I would rather take the Eagles in a playoff game than the Cowboys right now, because I just think the Cowboys are a bit of an unknown entity in terms of what are they good like they usually capitulate in the playoffs, right? I'm not confident that this team right now would necessarily crumble in the playoffs, and I think Philly appear more crumbly, shall we say. I see it. And context before somebody clips this and tells me I'm a moron, they're 100% not the team they were last year. And if you're an Eagles fan, you're denying that, then you're blind. Yeah,
no, that's absolutely fair enough. Of course, this is all extremely hypothetical at the moment in time. We've got some business to do, but I like to have a little bit of optimism in our step, because we've not been able to do this thus far.
So I think we understand what we're going up against in the Bucs, right? And it's up to us to get the job done, right?
Yeah.
But if we just take a quick sneak peek, right? Seeing as we're talking hypothetical.
Yeah. our upcoming or
our schedule. So we've got Bucs at home, Panthers at theirs, Colts at home, Bears at theirs, Saints at theirs. Now, I'm telling you now.
You do yours, I'll do mine.
Out of 5 games,
I
think we'll go 3-2.
Okay, I'm going to go. I think we beat the Bucs and the Panthers. I'm happy with that. Colts, I'm sat on a little bit, if I'm honest.
We have one of the worst records of team versus team ever.
Yeah.
I think, because obviously Colton Falcons are original NFL teams, right? Not like weird expansion teams like the Ravens and the Jags, who aren't real teams, right? They're just expansion teams. But I can see us beating the Bucs, beating the Panthers, beating the Bears.
Okay.
Because I think by that point the division's already sewn up. So I think that last game against the Saints, as much as I hate to say it,
it's a little bit null.
We potentially lose that one. I would rather if we've already hit the playoffs regardless, I would just send second string out.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I agree, because it's not worth the gamble at all. Should that be the circumstance?
But I think I do think we get beat off Indianapolis.
Yeah, no, that's where I hesitated as well. We've got Paul in the comments saying we beat Bucs, Panthers, and Saints. I just don't know about going 6-0 in the division. There's just something that doesn't sit right. Even if the Saints weren't.
No, I get what you mean. Yeah,
it just seems really bold, because I know it's such a shambles of a division, but even so, it'd be some feat. I just don't know if we've quite got it in us.
I'm surprised Paul thinks we lose to the Bears. I'm surprised at that.
Yeah, I wasn't too bothered about the Bears. Saints one was my hesitation as well. I was stuck between 3-2 and 4-1, but your potential logic for the Saints game makes perfect sense. So you would.
Well, realistically, especially if we beat the Bears, and we win those divisional games, we can't be caught. So what's the point? You know what I mean?
No,
because believe this, those horrible people down the road will want nothing other than to make sure that our playoff run is short.
Yes.
And they'll start targeting, because guess what? They've got form for it. So I watch a lot of Bears, my son, and they are better than their record. I think it's fair enough. I do still think that we've probably got more of them on the day, but then again, it is at theirs, so it's a bit of a weird one. So I think when we hypothetically look at that running, it's ours to lose.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's not 9-8's not a shabby return, really, as far as things go. Should that be the outcome of those games?
10-7's got a better.
10-7 does sound nicer, doesn't it? I've not even seen double figures yet, so it would be nicer, especially not since the introduction of the 17 games. But yeah, I'd take that. I don't want to speak too soon, because this weekend does change the whole perception of where we actually are.
We're having a different conversation next week if we lose.
Yeah, absolutely. Next Monday, we could be sat here going, you know what, we're actually on our asses a little bit again because we're looking behind us. But I'd like to stay positive this week and say I think 9-8's very, very feasible at this point. And if you do finish your division 5-1 or 6-0, then you deserve it. There's no.
So I think one thing I would say, which you kind of sort of alluded to, was around how bad the division is. Well, guess what? This division is not about to get any better.
No.
Saints are in cap hell for the next 2 years. They're already 90 million over the cap for next year.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, that's about
right. And actually, I think we've got, again, a healthy amount of cap space purely because we're not paying a quarterback. So I think that there is much more of an opportunity for this. We feel like a better run franchise. I mean, again, we can.
I think we are. I think since Fontenot has come in, picks you can debate and stuff like that. But in terms of his money in, money out,
I would say about
I think he's done pretty tidy.
65 to 70% of his draft picks have been pretty good.
Pretty good, decent.
Free agency business has been,
I'd say, above our draft picks in terms of. And any that you want to criticize that maybe you think haven't been up to scratch, they've generally been 1-year contracts anyway. So it's neither here nor there. Like, you're not really losing out, are you? It's worth taking a gamble on some of them.
No, and you're seeing players like Ebiketie now starting to prove their worth. I think that can. Apparently, he's made a really, really good friendship with Bud Dupree, who's a really amazing vet. Who and same with Calais. They're the kind of people you need, these kind of young guys to learn off. Yeah. We're still on the front of it. Are still an extremely young team. So I think we've definitely got that going for us. Panthers are absolutely in the bin, and I think they'll be in the bin.
We thought they were restarting 2 years ago. They're restarting all over again next season.
They're currently paying 3 sets of coaching staff to not coach their franchise.
Yeah, bonkers.
Which is wild.
Yeah, it is.
And the Bucs just feel like they're kind of just surfing into another era.
Just plateaued a little bit. They'll be all right. They'll probably stay evens about half the time, won't they? So as long as we can just outpick them a little bit.
I mean, credit where it's due. They went win now, and they won. So
as fans as well, I'm not saying we should do it because we're in a completely different situation now. But if your team goes win now and does win, I think you take 2 or 3 or 4 more years of struggle and heartache, don't you? I think you just suck it up, especially when you're a franchise that's not renowned for its staggering success in the recent future.
Oh god, yeah. So I think to kind of I know we kind of segued out of the Bucs, but I think I think divisional wise, we are having 2 very different conversations depending on how Sunday goes.
I agree, very much so. I'm full of optimism and positivity at the moment, but we'll see how it pans out.
But it can turn so quickly.
Oh, it can. It can. The show next week, if Liam and Cal are back, it could be a war zone again. But I'm going to say I don't see it that way. I'm not confident. I'm never confident. That's not the aim of our franchise. But we're more than capable. They're not a high performing team, and they're not in a great moment either. So let's take it whilst we can.
I have to agree with Paul.
Yeah. I'd do it right now, even though we're building and we look like we're actually making some progress. I'd still do it now.
But I mean, look, right? It's all very well and good going. You're building. The Bengals have been building. The Ravens have been building.
Yeah.
The Bills have been building and now look like they've been building on sand. It would appear.
Yeah.
It's. I just kind of go. It's all very well and good building. But if you've just got like the memory of a lost Super Bowl or the memory of AFC, NFC championship game or whatever, it's kind of like, well, you didn't do anything. You're sitting there 5, 6, 7 years on, like we do, going, oh, do you remember that Super Bowl that we nearly won?
Yeah.
And managed to
none of those teams that you just mentioned, are more commentable than us at the moment, are they? As in, if you've not won a Super Bowl, then it's irrelevant. Nobody, you literally just hit the nail on the head. Nobody remembers the losers, not for the right reasons anyway. So you're not in a better situation than us. I'd argue I'd rather not go to a Super Bowl than go to one and lose it. So we've had enough pain.
People don't remember the losers apart from ours.
Apart from ours. Tell me the losers for the last 10 years, the first name will be Falcons. Pain. But that's not going to happen anymore. It's not going to happen. We're going to come back on Monday. We're going to be ecstatic. Everyone in the chat's going to be buzzing instead of cautiously optimistic. Liam's
I think it'll be the first time we've won 3 in a row since like 2017, I think.
I don't know if I've seen it happen. Yeah, this is season 5 for me, so I don't think I've.
Yeah, no, just stats wise, I think I'm pretty sure it was 2017 that the last time we won 3 on the bounce. I might be wrong.
You're probably spot on. This is the deepest into a season that I've been as a fan, and we're still like in it.
There.
That makes sense. Like last season, we technically were, but we were just not in a position to. Oh no. Spoke too soon. But yeah, last season we technically were, but we just didn't have the facilities for that. So this is I
think, and ironically, right, that's the frustration. That continues to be the frustration because we've got facilities now.
Yeah, we have.
That's why I think that's why this is all the more frustrating. Because we've got a good O-line, we've got great offensive pieces. I do think we need to address the wide receiver room in the off season. And for me,
I agree. London on his own's not going to be able to do the job.
Van Jefferson experiment hasn't worked, so it's like Mac Hollins isn't the answer. Scotty Miller's niche, so it's
might be a few little free agency gambles and take a nosy at the draft, depending on our position. But again, same principle, though. We might not be in a good enough position to be worth taking someone in the draft of like.
So one that I would target, and I won't go off on too much of a tangent, but one that I would target because the Bengals aren't going to pay him is T. Higgins.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. Yeah. we've got a pot there now. We've got a little pot building, so it's worth.
Yeah.
It's worth.
Yeah.
Well,
Bengals have already said they're not going to pay him. So
yeah.
You know,
same principle as the Jesse Bates move. Sometimes you just have to suck up the big contracts, don't you? Just to give yourself a little bit of stability and success. So I'd be more.
I guess we've just got to be sensible, because you've got to remember we've got we're in the next sort of 2 to 3 years. We've got a couple of contract years coming up. We're coming up to AJ's year, right? And we've got to pay him.
Oh, you pay him. You pay him without hesitating. Every time he has a bit of a lull, he has a lull for like a week or two, and then he's just back to exactly what you want him there for. Who else is coming up?
So he has a. Let's finish on a hypothetical.
Okay.
So, and you can buy or sell this idea, right?
Yeah.
So just say Ridder has a stinker for the rest of the season.
Okay.
And we finish kind of middle of the road, first round.
Yeah.
Pick, right. Do you?
Oh no.
Go to the Bears.
Yeah.
And offer the 15th pick and AJ Terrell for the first pick in the draft.
Is AJ harder to replace
for a franchise quarterback
than the value a potential franchise quarterback, though? Because it's still not guaranteed. He's had injury niggles and stuff like that, and there's still a potential downside to it.
Well, I guess the reason I ask, right, is he's coming up with that contract here, right? So you have to pay him.
Yeah. So
if you're going to shop him, you need to shop him quick.
Yeah, no, of course. It's money for money, isn't it? It's a big contract for a big contract, but...
So, say, for example, we talked about Pitts last week. I said, well, you'd probably be looking to get a second rounder, right? I think with AJ you could he's one of the few that you could go, that's first round talent.
He's probably our most valuable asset at the moment, I think, excluding Bijan and all your slightly newer ones. But in terms of people that are getting to that stage of the contracts, who else have you even got? Looking at, was McGarry in that last year or this year?
Yeah, McGarry. Well, because we let McGarry test the agency, and then he went, ooh. Yeah.
No.
You buy
the excitement of having a franchise quarterback that could actually perform, and me possibly being able to sleep at night knowing that we might not throw 4 interceptions a game, I think I'd take the punt, as horrible as that is, just because I don't think we're in a position where we're going to be able to achieve it in the draft. And people, in terms of other accessible quarterbacks at the moment in time, don't think there's that many that are going to be knocking about.
Don't get me wrong. Corner, finding a truly brilliant corner also isn't easy.
It's not, but it's probably easier, and you can get away with having a 3/4 level corner, if that makes sense, for a quarterback that's actually top of the game.
Yeah, and I think
it's the other way around.
I think a quarter, if you got that first pick, you go Drake May or Caleb Williams. I've still got questions about Caleb Williams' attitude. I'm not really sure that he would fit. I think Arthur Smith would just want to slap him. And Drake May could still go first.
Of course. Yeah,
I think
season to go.
That's potentially likely. Paul just popped in the chat. And listen, like I said, it's just a hypothetical. It's just something I was mulling over in the car during my 3-hour drive home from work. But and he said would be a case of if Bears buy or sell Fields, so where would go if that's in the mix? Paul, to be fair, we did chat about this a little bit earlier on, and I said I think if Chicago do go quarterback with that first pick, and they don't stay with Fields, then I would chuck them that second round pick from the Ridley deal for Justin Fields. I would do that. I think Justin Fields works in an Arthur Smith system, and I think he's better than Ridder. So I would take that. I was just thinking more, in terms of not doing a Carolina Panthers and selling the farm. For a quarterback that's akin to a borrower, I would, I guess, do you reach or do you not? And if now isn't the time to reach with Pitts in a contract year, Drake in his third year, Bijan's second year, I can't see our first round pick going on offense.
Yeah.
Really, because if we do manage to make the playoffs, I think our pick's probably not going to be that high anyway. So, what do you do? Do you go defense and add another piece there? Yeah, possibly you do. But I don't know. I like to see people go big in the draft. And I like to see people just go get their guy. That's what I always said about Bijan. Go get just go get your guy.
Yeah.
And if you believe in the guy enough, then if you believe in him, you just take him, at whatever spot you can.
Yeah.
And I guess my question is, does a better QB potentially fix this system, fix this offense? I'm not saying it fixes it, but I'm saying it elevates it.
Yeah, I agree. No, yeah, it elevates it. It doesn't necessarily fix our playbook per se, but minus some interceptions.
No, but does it? But here's a question: does a more talented QB make the scheme work better?
100%, because you could put Mahomes in any team in the NFL, and he still picks stuff out of the bag, regardless of how good the scheme around him is. Like, this is not the best. This is not the best Chiefs team that we've seen, and it still works, doesn't it? So you'd hope that.
But we're gonna. But if this building process is going to come to something, we have to produce an offense that matches how good the defense are.
Yeah,
because otherwise you're the Steelers.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? You go, oh well, we've not had a losing season since Big Ben was out sexually abusing people. Like whatever. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's all you are. You might pick up a couple of playoff games, but it's never going anywhere.
It's not what it's about, is it? No.
I just can't help but feel. Do you just like? Do we make a play? Like, Terry's used the picks, BPA, best player available, blah, 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 right?
Yeah.
Is now the time to go, you make a play for your guy.
Yeah, balls to the wall and just commit to the making such a substantial improvement, instead of just going, well, best available, it'll probably help us. Best available, it'll probably help us, with no guarantees every single time we do it.
We know they liked Fields. He was pictured in the facility.
I appear to have lost Mark, unless we got both frozen. I got as far as he was pictured in the facility, and then you froze, mate.
Oh, sorry. I was just coming to, we know he's a player Terry likes. So and I can't imagine Arthur wouldn't like him. So and I'm not saying, and Ridder can be a extremely competent backup. And a cheap one at that. So, I don't. I'm because I'm certainly not campaigning to get Des out of the building. But again, I'm kind of at that point now where I'm like,
something's got to give a little bit. Yeah, I agree. We can't just keep hoping that everybody works out and just hoping that someone comes good. Sometimes you just
see what Stroud's done at Houston.
Changes it. It's a completely different franchise, isn't it? Just like that. And they're
not even running the ball with a good running back.
No, exactly.
Do you know what I mean? So
yeah, and we have those facilities.
please feed the facilities.
Please.
Right. Well, on that note, have we got any other business to chat about?
I have not this week, if I'm completely honest. I suppose in fact, I lie a little bit. There was a nice little one. Did Bradley Pinion from us got nominated for Walter Payton Man of the Year, which is nice. We always seem to have a few people knocking about. So that's a nice. It's not proper any other business, but a little shout out to one of our boys. Got to respect the grind sometimes. I've got no like Taylor Swift and Kels kind of news or anything like that, if that's what you were digging for. But
no. I mean that's just become a circus, really, hasn't it? And I think
it's a war zone as well. But
we saw, seemed to be a bit of a shadow of the former Stars. But we went through that last week, so I won't revisit it. But
we won't circle back.
The NFL continues to be wild.
It does indeed, mate. Well, on that note, we'll catch you all on Monday when hopefully we're sitting at 7-6 and 4-0 in the division, and there we are. Simple as that.
And if we need to win ugly, let's just win ugly.
Yeah, literally. This title is going to be the title for the next 5 weeks now. We'll just leave it set every single week, and we'll just keep rocking up and having the same positive chats. I love it.
Good stuff. Thanks, Danny.
You feel free to wrap it up, mate. I will not take that moment away from you.
Guys, thanks to everybody who's tuned in. I know we haven't got the normal numbers, and if you were hoping to tune in and see our special guest, Damsky, unfortunately wasn't able to make it tonight. But we will be back next week, as always, and hopefully we'll have the whole gang back together. And we'll see if we can get Damsky back somewhere down the line to get his insight. But until then, and let's just hope that we are headed steamrolling towards another Victory Monday against the Bucs. If this is your first time watching, please, all platforms, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. Please do us a favor, tell a friend, hit the bell, hit subscribe, and make sure you've got notifications on for when we go live every Monday/Tuesday sometimes. But until then, thanks very much, and we'll catch you all again next week.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you, everyone. Catch you next week.